We are delighted to be joined via Zoom by Jim Nash. He is the Oakland County Water Resources Commissioner, and he joins us here live in the Megacast. Mr. Nash, Commissioner Nash, thank you for joining us.
Well, I appreciate you having me.
Well, thank you for being with us. So, a couple of things. First of all, I did see a press release from the state of Michigan that said we want to do everything we can to make sure that we're not shutting water off for anybody because they can't pay their bills right now. And if your water was shut off, we want to get it back on. It's important people have their water. Could you talk about what's going on the front line on that?
Absolutely. My office operates and maintains for a bunch of communities, about 15 communities in Oakland County. Pontiac, Farmington Hills are our biggest. We do Commerce Township, Orchard Lake, a bunch of smaller communities, Oxford. So when we're operating, and maintaining all this stuff, we want to make sure that we're doing it properly for everybody. And we've all the communities that we operate and maintain. A couple of weeks before the governor did that, we did the same thing. We went ahead and told everybody that had their water shut off for non-payment that we would turn it on. We've turned on about 35 homes. We came across part of the governor's order was for us to look at all the shut off homes in the whole everywhere that we operate and maintain. And we found that there were about 200 that had been shut off, but about 90% of them were unoccupied homes. So all the ones that have been occupied that had been shut off have now been turned on again. As long as this emergency exists, we won't be shutting anybody off. We won't be charging late fees, those kind of things. We just want to make sure everybody has good water. We need to be all, we need to keep clean in this emergency. So we want to make sure that everybody has good sanitation, good fresh water.
Jim Nash, we've got to have our water right now. I just can't imagine trying to maintain my home without water right now. It's so hard as it is. It's already hard enough. And so I'm glad to see that you're doing that. I'm glad to see you were ahead of the state of Michigan on that. Thank you very much for that update. We appreciate it.
No, absolutely. We want to make sure our customers get the water they need and the sanitation they need. Without it, we're in real trouble.
And then the other big news, and we've got other things to talk about. You can't see it, but I'm holding my Clorox disinfectant wipes, and these things are doing a great job. They are keeping us healthy, but it's just not the kind of thing I'd really rather be talking about right now. But people are flushing these down the toilet. What happens? I mean, you're on the front line of that. What happens, Jim Nash, when we do that?
Well, put it this way: when toilet paper is actually an engineered product, it's engineered to break down basically as soon as it's water. When you flush your toilet and there's toilet paper in it, before it leaves your house, it's pretty much completely nothing left of it. Anything that you put in that doesn't do that is going to stick to the insides of pipes. If you put fats, oils, and grease in your sink in your kitchen, and it can line the inside of the pipes, even from your own property. And then these wipes can cling to the inside of that. And if over time it gets enough of it, it'll stop the flow and you'll end up with sewage in your basement. And with all the things going on now, you don't want sewage in your basement. So we're encouraging everybody to recognize that the only thing that should be flushed in your toilet is what comes out of you and toilet paper. Beyond that, anything that you flush in your toilet or put in your kitchen sink can end up blocking your lines. And it can not only block your own lines, but it can go downstream into these sewers, and you can get caught in filters for pumps. You can get caught in the pumps themselves. There was a few years ago, we had to replace a $500,000 pump because it had been so damaged by ragging that we had to replace it. So these kind of things can add up over time, and we make sure that people understand that the only thing that you should flush down your toilet is what comes out of you and toilet paper.
Yeah, I like saying, forgive me, I didn't have you on screen there for a minute. I apologize to our audience. I always like saying, I'm a boater, so we're used to this in the boating world, I always like to say, if you haven't eaten it, then don't flush it down your toilet. If you've eaten it first, it's okay, right? Just keeps it kind of simple.
That's right.
Yeah, I just can't imagine. What kind of, is there any way you can describe, without being gross, what kind of mess you run into? I've heard these stories of these huge balls of debris that are stuck in our sewer systems.
What happens, and there was a case in London some years ago where they found what they call it a fatberg, which is fats, oils, and grease that combine with these things you flush down the toilet. And it was the size of two of those double-decker buses they have inside a sewer. So these kind of things can gather up over time and have significant impacts on sewers. We had a case about 5 years ago now in Farmington Hills where 14 bottom floor apartments all had sewage in their floors because a line in the road had been clogged with fats, oils, and grease from a restaurant up the road and backed up. So this can have a huge impact. The first time it happens to you, you'll never let it happen again. Trust me.
Anything we should be careful about? I mean, we all have garbage disposals in our house. I mean, we take almost any. A lot of people take almost anything and put it in the garbage disposal. The things we should be careful about.
Well, garbage disposals, if any kind of solid you put in the garbage disposal is ripped to such tiny pieces that it shouldn't have an impact.
Okay.
Even if you pour fats, oils, and grease into a garbage disposal, it will go through that garbage disposal and then solidify in your pipes. So even if you have a garbage disposal, fats, oils, and grease can be a serious problem. But if you do have one and you're putting food in it, it's going to grind it to the point where it shouldn't have an issue.
All right, well, that's good to know, Jim. You know, I can't believe I don't know this. I haven't had a chance to talk to a water expert on the show. We only got a minute or two more. Where's our water come from? The water that you provide to us, where's it come from?
The Great Lakes Water Authority supplies all the water for the big systems in Oakland County, including West Bloomfield, Farmington Hills, Commerce, all those areas. So they get their, the bulk of Oakland counties comes from Lake Huron. There's a intake 3 miles out in the lake, and then there's a water treatment plant right on the shore. And then it's shipped about 60 miles by pipe into our area. So it's very, very pure water out of Lake Huron, especially in this area. Some of the bottom corner of the county gets it from the Detroit River. Again, very clean water, and we have some of the cleanest water in the country in our Great Lakes Water Authority supply.
You know, that's good to hear because you think of Detroit River, the water is coming from the Detroit River. It can't be that good, but you know what? I guess so. Okay, I believe it.
It's above the industrial areas. It's above the industrial areas. There have been in the past some issues with some Canadian pollution, but that was cleared up some years ago, and I haven't seen anything in more recent years.
All right. Well, thanks for coming on the line with us today. Anything else you want to add during this crisis? We appreciate everybody that's keeping everything working, by the way, so thank you. You are definitely an essential worker, and your team and all the people that keep water coming. Anything else you want to add?
Oh, absolutely. My folks are out here, every day. Last year when it was 30 degrees below zero and the mailmen weren't delivering mail, my folks were out there working on water lines. So we are a dedicated group of folks. We have some of our teams off a week, on a week for this emergency to make sure our folks are healthy. We want to make sure we serve the communities that depend on us and make sure all our employees are protected. So we're working hard on that. We've been lucky so far. We haven't had any of our employees have issues with coronavirus yet. We had one person whose wife worked as a nurse in a hospital, and he's been off for a while now. But other than that, we have had no cases, and we've been quite lucky. So we're making sure that we're using our personal space, and we're not going to be infecting each other. And this is something we have to make sure that everybody that's serving the public is going to be doing.
Well, you talk about the ultimate utility that people totally take for granted, but the second there's a water main burst and we got to boil our water or we don't have it, then everyone's going, oh, man, this is important.
That's
so
right.
Thank you, Jim, so much. Jim Nash,
I
Oakland County Water Resources Commission. Thank you for joining us and all you do and keeping the water flowing during this crisis. We appreciate it.